a lot of these dudes that love single mothers are not the first choice of the women who become single mothers. I
Facts.
said after those women have get left and abandoned with a child, they forced to grow. Right, that growth makes them switch more over to it's not what I want, it's but this is what I need. Right, so they go after
Right.
those dudes, and I think those dudes, if it wasn't for that scenario, they would never get picked. So they love them.
Feelings not included, ayy. Let's get into it, ayy. Life, love, and real debate. We setting records straight. What y'all wanna hear today? We coming out the gate. You know how we do it. Feelings not included.
All right, let's kick it off, man. Reparations is the first part of the topic today, and I often talk to people about reparations and what that looks like. I'm going to be first and foremost to say I do not believe handing people a bunch of cash is a great idea. Right? I
Okay.
think I
Okay.
think that's going to be bad in my opinion. But I wanted to let you start off the focus on it and give me your perspective on it, and we can go from there.
Man, my perspective is it's kind of broad, or maybe vague is a better word, but I'm like you. I don't agree with just handing out a whole bunch of money, right? I think that we saw a snapshot of what would occur if that were to happen with the PPP loans, right? Not to say anybody that none of us did well with it, right, or took advantage of it in a healthy way, but we're speaking collectively, right?
Right.
Um, my perspective is that based on historical context, we are due as a culture for them, but we are not aligned enough to accept them like other cultures would be. Like other cultures have economic infrastructure, they're literate in that space, and they have a sense of self
Right.
that would allow them to find common ground and align economically, at least, to ensure success, right? With
Absolutely.
us, culturally, that is not the case. We have shown that we cannot align even politically over decades. So, with that being said, my thought would be that we would first have to look at ourselves culturally and develop like factions of, because we are not monolithic.
Right.
So we would have to have the uncomfortable conversation about the different subcultures within so-called Black culture, and then show some kind of political infrastructure within that, and then just maybe come up with some, I guess cultural bylaws
Right.
that, like a code that we seem to not even have culturally or want to adhere to, and then it would just you would divide the I think you would make the contingencies of how reparations would be handed out, based on what a collective bargaining agreement of some sort would look like for so-called Black culture. And then you would have to have some form of government for it,
Absolutely.
and criteria, essentials that have to, I guess, test, so to, in other words, like, some criteria that you would have to meet to be able to receive those. And I don't think they should be in a form of, necessarily in a form of, money outside of funding,
Okay.
and then having maybe the money be reserved for, no, like, zero interest loans, and it also be appropriated and or allocated for um, things that we know we need to build economic infrastructure, such as, institutions. If you're going to go by community or factions, you would some of that money is allocated to build a banking systems. Some of it's allocated to build educational systems. Grocery stores, or agriculture or whatnot, and then maybe get into, and then maybe it just spreads off from, different sub industries there, and, into even leading into up to and not, up to and including home ownership, and assets that appreciate. So it would be a long road,
Right.
just in my, that was just me being long winded about the things that we would have to do culturally for me to get behind that concept of reparations.
So from my perspective, I view it probably entirely different. I look at it and I don't think any form of monetary payment makes sense. Right? There's too many. things wrong right now in society, specifically with us, that trying to get that governance of how that money is divided and spent is probably not ever feasible. I personally, and this is just my opinion, right? I think it's better invested, and I would say in the 25 and under. I'm gonna take, and I'm over 25, right? I'm over 25, so I'm taking myself out of loop. The situation is what it is. I think we put it into education, right? And the point I say, when I say education, I don't just mean college, skills, trades,
Right.
something where you don't just get uh, an idea or in some kind of income or something like that, or money for this or that and the other, and have no real concept on how to help the next generation, right? So
Right.
I
The
think,
criteria, right?
right, the
So
criteria. I think,
so yeah, we are saying we
okay,
just saying it different, but I'm that's what I mean when I say a criteria.
yeah, because I think if we can establish something that is handed down, right? And jobs aren't handed down, but the process of watching your parents, right, or your mom or your dad or whatever, work typically instills work ethic in us. I think with the younger generation, especially how they're not as active in anything, work or whatever else, they really don't give a shit about nothing. I think we put a requirement on it that, hey, we're gonna go ahead and give you free schooling, right? A 2 year, 4 year, whatever it is, but it has to be something of value, right? And everything is
Right.
valuable
But
to a certain extent.
let me be clear. So that's what I mean when I say the funding, the school, we can say free education, but it's still going to have to be
It's
funded.
funded, right? Okay,
And that's where, when I say government and or, the people who allocate these funds, you know how they have, if you go for a grant, they have a board who
right,
oversees that and allocates it and has a criteria in place for you to have to meet and function in fluently for them to ensure that you're going to appropriate the funds. And that's what I mean when I say
all right. So we're on the same
reparations.
page then.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just looking
yeah. I
at it
don't,
different because
but I'm saying at a certain point, like when whoever you invest in, you're going to have incentives for them on the back end, right? So
right,
if they acquire these trades and or this education and have these other tangible skills, then you're going to have to reward them with loans, and they can't be high interest loans because they want to
right,
be reparative. I mean, a reparative, right?
right,
So that's what I mean when I say that. Just to be clear, the only place where I think we may disagree is, or slightly disagree, is where you say we just invest in 25 and under, and that's because this you just said that this generation of youth are not qualified or competent enough to develop economic infrastructure across the board collectively. I don't think so, based on their priorities and how they
right.
even see society and how they interact with society.
No doubt, man. I know it's crazy to say give up on the older folk, right? But we've had our opportunities, right? Whether good, bad, or
Yeah,
ugly,
yeah.
right? We've been like it's too late for too many of us. I'd hate to see people my age, 47, 48, starting trying to get into a new trades. And look, we're 10 years, 15 years, 20 years out from being done from a work perspective, right?
No, you
It's
can still
not
you just leadership, just from a
right.
leadership perspective, right?
Leadership, yes, right. But just the physical, doing the actual work, doing the skills. By the time we get done with it, we're even closer, what I'm saying, to that retirement age. So I just
Mhm.
think we do have to figure out something from an American standpoint. Um, I know certain states are trying to do things with reparations. California, I believe, was trying to do something, but I think it was all monetary, and that's just bad because shit,
That's
like I
just a
know, bro.
front. Yeah, that's just a front to me. That's just no. I don't think it'll ever happen. Like I think
It
when it
won't.
happens, it happens. It happens. Very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very covert when it happens
Okay.
because I think that even if you, depending on what perspective you come from with the whole PPP situation, I think that was them taking data on. I mean, there. That was an opportunity just to get money.
So let's definitely talk about that PPP loan, bro, and how that went because I'm a business owner, right?
Uh huh.
So I did one round of it, legit by the book, right?
Yeah.
Everything was forgiven the proper way. But I found out about the process of the PPP and the EIDL loans through cats in the street. Like they was on it first,
Right.
right? I knew cats said,
You
"Well,
think that was by chance or by design?
man, bro, I see. This is where I struggle. If I put a pile of crack cocaine here, you don't got to smoke it or sell it, right? It's up to you to do the right thing, right? And I think you're right. I think it is kind of by design, but we keep falling for the same shit, right? Like we had to change mouse traps over the years because the old cheese wasn't working. They got smart, right? They hipped on. We keep falling for the same shit, and that's where I struggle, right? Like so with the PPP loans, I saw people, hey man, I got a free 10,000. First off, hey, free and money don't go together, right? 10,000 or whatever you got is coming from somewhere,
Hmm.
and on the backside of it now, they started them cases. right? Because the government know where the money went. They put in your bank account in your name. You know what I'm saying? So, and I saw the EIDL loans too, which was the I think it's economic injury disaster loan, where
Yeah.
at first they were giving anybody 10,000 who applied, and then you know how that shit go. The hood took
Right.
over,
Right.
right, and
Man,
motherfuckers was getting
why,
money from
why
everywhere.
you say the hood took
The
over?
hood
Why?
took, bro, because I saw cats in the hood saying, "I can get you 10,000." Not only can I get you 10,000, well, I'm gonna charge you 2,000, right? You know what I'm
But
saying?
you right, oh yeah, yeah. In terms of gatekeeping, yes, a
It
lot of
was
that
it was
happened, right?
a few people running the show. They like, and they wasn't using their name, right? They'll get somebody on a loan, take a little chunk of it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, man,
But
we killing
you
each
don't
other.
think other cultures were doing that?
I know some other cultures do. I know it's doing it on the business side. But I know businesses that took more than they should have and did some other things, even got in trouble. I think
Right. It
with
just
Chris,
looks different. But it's the
but the
same.
difference is we already have an economic disadvantage, right? We're we know who they're coming to first, right? My mom used to say, if your friends are off the cliff, are you gonna do it too? Right? I'm like, nah, right? So yes, every culture did it, but we know who getting the bad end of the
Well,
stick every single time.
let me go into let me say this. I think I agree that we're going to get the bad end of the stick, but I think it's just it's the how we look at the ends of the stick is different.
Okay,
I don't think they're going to come after um like so-called black people about those loans. And the reason why I don't think so is because they were really dependent on us to remain the consumer base. You just an economy just requires a consumer base. So we're going
true
to give
that.
you this money, knowing you're going to give it right back to
Right
us. That's
back.
one.
Damn,
And so
you done brought in something
yeah.
I didn't even I didn't even contemplate.
So
So
I
you
think
changing my mind here.
that's the wrong end of the stick, right? That's like
Right,
that's
right.
whack. We just got money to spend more. You know what I mean? Like we weren't going to invest in infrastructure, and so but you can't just give the rich people money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's an economy has to flow somewhere. You know they have
100%.
to make money, and so and if you pay attention, well, from what I was hearing, it's like a lot of the millionaires they got richer,
Oh,
right?
cleaned up. Right? I
Right.
mean,
So
yeah,
I think that, but in terms of capitalism, you have to have a consumer base,
no doubt.
and when are people going to spend the most? When they are in fear,
No doubt.
right? Because they're going to be in survival mode, and so it's no different than a person who overly eats when they're stressing out. It's some people who go shopping when they're stressed out or when they're anxious. So I mean, I think, and then the fact that we tie our so much of our worth into like our material things.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's a whole
So
that's a whole different. Because you're right, man. And
yeah,
you didn't open my eyes to some shit, right? So now I gotta go do a little research. I'm like, you fucked me up on that one. But I'm easy. You know, I'm good. If I'm wrong and somebody could give me another perspective, I accept it because looking at
I
it,
don't think we know that we're wrong or right. I just think that
no,
it's
but
like
I do think you're right, man. Because you're right. They knew as soon as some shit became available, we good, right? If we put this energy that we use into hustling the wrong shit into the right shit, we'd be unstoppable, right? But
yeah,
you're right. So they knew because the economy went nuts. Free ten
yeah,
thousands and 15,000 here and there to a whole bunch of people. Um, you're right? Because everybody went ham. I'm watching people buy
hey,
stuff. I'm like, it's tax
check this
time.
out. Think about it like this. They won so big that what did we do when once again when we got afraid to go outside? We just got on social media more.
Yep.
And that made them billions, and that made other rich people richer. Now,
Yes, sir.
some people took advantage of it, and turned into millionaires,
Hmm.
or even high thousandaires. But what I'm saying is that who was watching, all and who was creating all the culture that now is social media culture. I mean, all the trendy dances and
Yeah.
challenges. Who was creating those things?
Yeah.
We were
That was
creating
us.
them, posting them, and then we were the ones engaging in it, and everybody else was capitalizing off of it. And that's just yeah,
Unfortunately, that's how it works. You know, as far as the culture is concerned, we create the things that earn, but we don't benefit from the actual actions or
right,
products or
right,
whatever it is we created. Um,
yeah,
you know, I heard a term once. It's like we kind of get used like cattle, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost like a product. and we struggle with not being able to capitalize on our own, our own shit, right? I've
Mhm.
now on my second company. When I started my company, everybody took something, man, it's so hard to start a business. I'm like, bro, it cost me $128 or something minimal, right? It costs a pair of J's, right? Or less.
Yeah.
It took me, and I had never created a business before, took me about 45 minutes to an hour, right? I got on a website for the state and went through the got
Yeah.
my federal number. I'm like, bro, this is it, right? So the process of starting it is very, very simple,
It's
but it's almost
maintaining it.
like, well, even that, I mean, we have the capability, but it's almost like we're conditioned to not want to work for ourselves,
You think
right?
we
And
have the cultural capacity to be able to maintain
listen, I'm
business?
I was a street dude. If you ever been in the
No,
street,
no, not you. No,
I'm just saying,
I'm not. I
I'm
said
going to
collectively, like from a
the
cultural
majority of us,
standpoint.
yes, right, and the ones that I think we all have the capability. We have them. It's not difficult because you learn as you
Yeah,
go.
I'm saying the capacity. I know we're capable.
I think so because again, if you look at the amount of people that just look at the hustlers, right? Just from the street perspective, right? When you're in the street, you're a CEO, right? You're security, you're marketing and research, you're
Yeah,
we know when we apply, we just apply the skills to the wrong shit, right? We utilize the skills to run a business damn near all day long in some form of capacity, right?
right.
If we
But the perspective is off, though.
And
You
that's the
know.
problem,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah.
perspective we have the knowledge, we have the capacity, we have
The
the capability.
tangibles. We have all
We
tangibles.
just it's
Yeah,
misdirected.
yeah.
Right, and we gotta figure out, I think, at some point how to redirect that focus, right? Because we will get on
But
social media and go from having no followers to 25,000 in a short amount of time. Like we can when we put our mind to something, we do it. We're just putting our mind to the wrong shit. And so I tell all my friends and associates, I'm like, hey, whatever job you have right now, if you're in the industry, love it, learn it, let them pay you to learn to create your own business, right? Whatever it is you're doing, pick a career. And that's where, having that training, going back to reparations, having that training and that skill set matters because every single thing, every company, you know what I'm saying, that somebody works for, somebody else started. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just what it
facts,
is. And I
facts.
tell people, like when I first convinced my first business partner to go into business with me, we were riding. He used to work for me at a different company in a job I had. And I'm like, dude, you see that stop sign? Somebody invented that. You see that yellow light? You know what I'm saying? Somebody invented that. It was a concept. We
Yeah,
utilize products all day long. New products come out every day, right? We're on a podcast, right? This shit didn't
Inspired by
exist.
us.
You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a concept that I think we don't realize there's money in everything, right? I'm in a business networking group, and these guys came in. They own a construction company, but they started a new company where they basically install like for higher end residences like these automatic blinds, right? They don't buy them, they don't manufacture them. They basically just do the installation. Everybody spend the money. They have almost no overhead, right? Because when a customer comes in, they purchase this. They have the overhead from the facility they have for like the showroom, right? A loan was taken out for that, right? They didn't use their own money because why? If it fails, you can file bankruptcy with the business and you straight. You have no financial burden. But I'm
Mhm.
looking, I'm like, man, I'm every time I'm around a business owner, they don't look like me. The majority of groups I'm in don't look like me, right? And I'm like, we have this potential and we're just not utilizing it. So I wish, and this is all going back to the PPP shit. We could have invested that into ourselves, right? Um, and did something life changing, life altering for a lot of us. Even if you don't create a business,
Yeah. Some of us did though.
a lot of us did, but not enough of us. That's what I'm saying. Like
Okay, I agree. I agree with
that's
that.
not everybody. You can't have all business owners and no employees, right? That's never gonna be.
Right.
But also that money could have been used to learn a new skill, right? It's just the things that I think I look at us and I hold us in a much higher regard than I do anybody else. And some people are like, man, you're wrong because you expect more from black folks than you do from other people. I'm like, I know what we're capable of, right? So that's where my expectations come from. I don't like I don't put us on a level playing field and say, well, then if I judge this dude on this scale, I'm gonna judge me on my people on this scale too. I don't because I can't speak to nobody else's culture, but I know what we're capable of. And I've seen people go from absolutely nothing to everything, right? And I'm not talking sports, right? And I'm not talking gifted talents. I'm talking people who just put in hard work ethic. It's a guy, a friend. Dude started a business. He had limo company. He had jeeps and trucks and buses. Ended up with a private plane. He lost everything. Bro went through a divorce, mentally fell off. You struggle, your business don't run.
Yeah.
Went down to nothing, was homeless, bro is back to being a millionaire, right? Like we have that easy capability. We know how to struggle, right? Most of us
I
were
think that's
raised
a
in that
small
struggle.
percentage of us though that had that type of capacity
But
though.
right, see, I don't, and that's where I feel like we all have that capacity. We just don't have that desire.
I had to disagree because when you assess it with the traumas, then we're just some of us are limited. Like I think I think where we align at is we're the most resilient group of people. You know what I mean? And maybe even resourceful if we saying collectively, right? But
Right?
we are limited in a lot of ways across generations, and that's what I mean when I say I think we need to have the uncomfortable but necessary conversation about our differences. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
where and have subgroups. We are not. I don't even like the name Black people.
I know.
You
I like how
know,
you say so-called black people. Like I feel that,
yeah,
bro. That
is
and people of a different hue, right? Or people of a similar hue. I like how you do that. My bad for the
yeah. Like
interruption.
because I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna just denounce my people like that. Like I have things to stand on, but I'm going to address any elephant in the room, and
Absolutely.
it's like we are some of like some of us so called we not the same.
No,
You
you're
know,
right. You're right.
we're too different to be in the same group. I mean, genetics aside, because some of that is a fallacy to me too. But I mean, I'm just speaking in terms of character, principle, our
Okay, so
histories,
so
you know.
yes, we're different, and I think when I say we're all capable, I we're let's see what the word I'm trying to try to word this the right way. We all have the capability, but the likeliness is not there for everybody. I think too many of us aren't going to try, right? If I think we're all not all. You have you have certain things you can't get over, right? I'm gonna go ahead and excuse those. You have some people with mental disabilities or limited mental capability, but for the average person, I think we have the capability to do it. Now, is it likely?
So look, this is where what I mean when I say like I see it differently. So when we look at even this, let's say the rap community, right, the rap industry, and you see how many of us have the talent, right, the capacity, in terms of talent to be able to learn um, the technologies, the craft, the imagery, and even assert ourselves, in the society. But the majority of us won't supersede those things just based off of our idea of what success is. We don't have the capacity to see past the fallacy of media. So
Okay.
once you get a certain amount of likes or even attention, because a lot of us have a trauma, have layers of trauma that we didn't get the right attention. So when we get attention through our talents, that represents some level of success. When really business minds think that's the opportunity, that's a small window. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
capitalize across, all settings, all avenues. But some of us don't even see ourselves, can't see ourselves bigger than what other people say we are. So that's what I mean by capacity. We have maybe the skill set,
Right,
the
right.
potential. Let's say
Potential.
potential,
Okay, yeah,
maybe.
potential. I'll go with that. Because
Okay, okay.
if somebody took one of those guys that you're talking about and said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to take you and I'm going to move you to a different area. I'm going to teach you how to get beyond and see different levels of success." I think they could make it, right? So the
They wouldn't
potential.
choose it. They
Now
wouldn't
they
choose it.
that's what I said. Take them. You got to take them. You can't offer it to them. You got to take them,
Well, you know
right?
that ain't gonna work.
Well, I know it
You
ain't gonna work, but that's what I say. So I'm saying potential. We're capable, but it's not likely. So how do we how do we change the definition of success amongst people, right? Because that's a good point you brought up. There are a lot of people who there are people, right, who don't see long term, right? Like if I've seen a post and I can't remember how it worked. It was something crazy. Like if somebody offered you $10 million up front, or it broke out whatever the other option was so many thousands per week,
right,
right?
right.
And you do the math and one like, okay, if you got an illness where you ain't gonna make it for very long, right? You know what I'm saying? That
That's
you
what
take
I'm
the lump
saying.
sum, right?
But
How do we fix that where we see the long term?
you can't.
So
And
it's just a wrap.
and
We
the
just
no,
it's
well, I'm just
for a
saying
subset of people.
yeah, because like you said, you can't even the idea that you can build you some people would even choose to build try to repair broken men than to build strong
New
children.
one. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that doesn't even make sense, right? So I just think the reality is that when a group of people have been in survival mode in their minds for so long, then that is the exact opposite of optimism and opportunity. You know, it's you can't see it. You think that you have to just take what is given to you.
You
You don't
know,
realize your power. You don't even realize you are the one. You know, we would rather collectively, not all, because a lot of us know better, but
right.
we have these internal conflicts within our culture. That's another conversation, but that exists as well as a barrier. But a lot of us, instead of knowing that we created something and we could take it to any level that we want to, we would give it away. We'll give that intel away and watch somebody else do it
Yes,
and
sir.
then expect them in our minds to just they're going to take care of me once they do what I could have done instead of just thinking I could have done it
Right.
myself, right? I can you if you have the information and you have the creativity, then you need to you that's the social equity right there. It's all about equity. You can
Yeah.
hire the people that you need. You know what I mean? Like because the trick is putting people that are smarter than you around you.
Yep. Yeah.
But we need
Outsource. Right.
right? But just look at us culturally. We put all of our energy into either sports or athletics. I mean, I'm sorry,
Entertainment.
athletics or entertainment,
Right.
right? Um, and we've been doing this even when you look at the even with all the data, the likelihood of whether or not you will be able to achieve the level of success that we think you know like pro level
Right.
miss not even looking at all the opportunity in between there, right? Like all the don't even realize the leverage that you have.
Right. Right.
Don't even realize just like you like we culturally really created or enhanced the NBA, we could replicate that right now across us culturally multiple times over
Yeah.
and maximize hugely in an economic way. But we need other people's validation, and that's instead of or even thinking if you apply that same energy to wanting to be a doctor or engineer, or
Right.
you know what I mean, like you're guaranteed to succeed.
Absolutely. Right.
Because if
So,
you can, you know, if you can dedicate yourself to like what it takes to be successful in sports over, you know, on different levels or even
man,
entertainment,
that's
then you actually
nonstop from
have
the
the
time you're a kid.
right. So that means that those are the people that their intelligence is being wasted
Right. But it's
by
that's
their own
coming from the
parents.
parents. Right. I was that's coming
Right.
from the parents. Because
Yeah.
you don't, you might want to play basketball when you're a kid, but you're not serious about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? You play outside before you play organized. Right. You
Right.
play with your friends versus strangers.
Right.
So you brought up a point where we waste that experience. 'Cause I've got several friends who had got scholarships to play different sports and was shooting for the stars, which is great. But they took an easy route from an education standpoint and got not thinking if I don't make it pro, this degree don't do shit for me where I'm at. Right. And then so it was a wasted opportunity. Don't get me wrong, you have a degree, that's a plus, right? It's better than not, depending on what you're trying to do. But
Mhm.
if you don't want to live anywhere near the ocean, having a degree in marine biology is pointless. Like if I'm gonna live in South Bend, Indiana, right? Having a degree in marine biology is pointless, or having a degree in agricultural anything when I live in the desert of Nevada, it doesn't make sense. So I think we
Mhm.
don't you're right. It's wasted opportunity for a lot of people because they don't look at what else, right? And I tell this to I've got family and friends. I'm like, listen, you could be a rapper, but you got to have a backup plan because that might not work, right? And I got homies that just never had a backup plan and it didn't work, right? So 45, 46, 47 on your first or second job. You know what I'm saying? It's it's crazy because we got to be able to figure something. And I know it comes from home, right? And it comes from trauma, and that's something I think I'm gonna touch on too because too many of us we rush to social media for information, right? I jumped in these different groups, marriage groups and dating groups and just general kind of groups to start researching this podcast shit. And one group I'm in is a marriage group. And I see people all the time, hey, serious question, blah, blah, blah. My first comment is, if it's a serious question, get it off Facebook. Don't, this is not where you want to go.
It's a whole nother conversation, man.
It is, man. And I think we fear therapy, right? It's a bad word, right? Well, I only talk to I ain't crazy, right? I'm good, right? And we fear almost some of us, not the majority, but a decent enough chunk of us, I think fear correction, changed, improvement, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because unfortunately, you can't everybody can't go with you, right? They just can't go
facts.
with you. And
Right.
everybody don't have the same vision, right? Again, I'll say it through multiple episodes multiple times. I used to be a street cat. That's been done for years. It's still, I won't say 2024 because it hasn't happened yet, but I would say 2023. I ran into somebody back in, that I used to deal with back in the day. I'm talking to him. They like, hey man, what's up? You still? I'm like, bro, it was also decades ago, right? Oh,
Mhm.
you just too big for me. Like that's the mentality. Like you think we can't transition to something different. And that's crazy, right? How do we fix that with the next generation? Because this generation, my age is it's a wrap. We are who we gonna be. There's some minor changes that might happen, and a minor percentage of us that might change overall. But let's be real, right? I'm
Hey,
47. At this age, bro, one thing I want new is probably a doctor. You know what I'm
okay. So
saying?
look, that's why it won't happen. Because the reality is, in order for us to be successful in a real way, the people that are around our age that has this our mindsets, we would have to have children and literally program because we have enough time to and enough wisdom that we probably
Absolutely.
won't be around to see it, but we would have to have the children that we are actually going to be intentional about raising collectively, not just you. It would have to be you, me, and several other people like us that are willing to, have start having children now and then raise that children in that
With
collective
those
village, right?
principles.
And I don't think most of us, are in a space that where we're willing to do that. So,
Ah, shit, I'm
so
not for
right.
sure.
So I'm saying because the generation, our kids, really that we have now, like,
It's a different
some of them will be okay. I'm talking about the type of nation building that we are referring to
right. It wasn't instilled in them.
because
Right.
we wouldn't because they're too absorbed that the media got them. Like you would have to raise these kids and actually have an infrastructure in place that will keep them from media. Everybody laughs at cultures that go off the grid, right?
Man, they're doing the
But
best.
they're doing the best.
They may not have the most, right? As far as
No, they
buildings
but
and all
they
this,
but
but
they
they
do.
have the
They
family
have
unit and
culture and community, right?
yes.
You're
That's
you're
that's
gonna be okay. You're gonna
yep.
be fine.
Right. You've been surviving for centuries like that.
Right. We just think that it's about having money. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because we live in a we're embedded in capitalism.
Yeah.
And so you have to adapt in that way. But I'm saying now a lot of our kids they live through social media, and a lot of
Man,
us
no
do,
doubt.
right? Some of us do.
Yeah.
So because we didn't know that this was going to flip society up on it around on his head. You know what I mean? So now we got AI. AI is going to make everybody lazy.
Man,
It's
bro.
gonna make everybody lazy and not creative. You're going to turn into robots. So
Yeah.
you would have to raise a subset of children that have cultural principle. That put family
You're right.
first.
It ain't
They
gonna
would have,
happen.
right? Yeah,
It ain't gonna happen.
and I mean, you would have to give them the real, like, hands-on, tangible tools and
Hmm.
social skills. Program them that way first, and then introduce them to the world of social media as a tool. We look at it as a place of refuge.
Yeah.
You know what I
It,
mean? Like
it's
we'll tell the whole a world full of strangers things that we should tell the individuals in our family that we sleep next to. You
you know
know,
what you say that, and somebody posted something earlier, and I commented on this. We talk about social media, right? Um, it was talking about the things people do, and I'm like, my issue with social media is I see just to what you said. I see men and women that will comment things under other men and women shit that I'm like, that's for home, bro. Or you'll big up somebody that you don't know. Meanwhile, your boy that you do know, you ain't gotta fluff everybody ego up, but being truthful is
right,
being truthful. Like I hit you the other
right.
day. I'm like, bro, listen, I've been going through these podcasts, editing these episodes. Bro, your mind is amazing, right? The way you think and the way you speak and different things like that.
Right.
Like, I have no problem.
Gratitude,
I
gratitude.
want to show respect and love and gratitude to the people that I deal with on the circle. There's no point in me getting under some famous person's social media post and congratulating them on something that they don't even know I exist, right?
And don't care.
They don't care, right? Like that's we don't want to focus. We rather focus on on the outside, right? Because what I do in my house doesn't show to anybody. A lot of people want to be known. There was a time where somebody mentioned, man, you know, all you ever talk about is the positive of your relationship. You never talk about the negative. Bro, you will never see me and my wife fight. That don't mean we don't fight. That's house
Right,
business, right? Right.
man.
And I don't think many people understand that if you don't put the negativity out, that's okay. Right.
Right. It's
You can put positive. I'm weird, bro, in the aspect of, you know, obviously I'm married to a white woman in a interracial relationship. But when I look, like I don't watch any TV or support any shows that, in my opinion, degrades black people or show us in a negative light. So I don't watch a lot of TV. Right now, if there's an episode of something where a black person, a so-called black person, is negatively impacted, that's different, right? It's an
right.
episode, it's not focused. I've
Yeah.
never seen. I would say I stopped watching it when I stopped watching like Oz back in the day, right? I've never seen Power or none of that shit. I don't watch any of those shows. I'm like, man, every time I see an episode, it's perpetuating the shit I think we need to get out of, right? And when we see that, we struggle with the entertainment versus reality, like no one else. So
Right.
it doesn't. I know it don't matter, but I don't support it. I
Right.
can't.
So once again, that's the reason why it won't happen repetitively because the people just look at the entertainers, our entertainers and our athletes, right? These are the individuals who literally have the minds and the resources to be able to educate us through media, but they will not sacrifice their capitalistic wealth
Yep.
to for their people. And if and those who try will even be alienated by their people who look like them.
Yeah, they're peers. Yeah.
So and that because that's who we're looking at to teach us. If I always said if the people like if the Oprahs and the Michael Jordans and the Jay-Z's or whoever you wanna name that are successful economically, if they can literally create curriculums, and distribute them just through social media, you know what I mean,
Right.
that would at least help us elevate a certain way. I believe that, and that won't there will never be a concerted effort
Right.
um,
They're
for
gonna they're gonna lose people if they do.
right. They're they just so we not and that's who we looking at. I don't that's how it's going to be
Yeah.
unless we breed doctors, scientists, engineers, architects. Unless we literally breed them, then we will continue to send our kids down the paths of sports and entertainment
Man,
and live vicariously through try to live vicariously through them,
right.
via
Try
our
to
own traumas.
right, try to fix our lives through our kids and create new
Yeah,
whole problems.
yeah.
I saw a post a while back that said, "Would you rather have dinner with Jay Z or 500,000?" And a lot of people said dinner with Jay Z. I'm like, bro, all the information's on the internet that he's about to give you. Take that 500 and start something. Right? There's nothing that man can say to me. He's a brilliant person. Right? He's a brilliant businessman. But there's nothing he can say to me that's worth 500,000. Right? Because I can take that 500,000, research everything, and turn that into millions. Right?
Yeah,
Um,
you can.
but somebody else sitting down with Jay Z, there if you ain't that ain't gonna help you. You don't have capital. That's cool. Jay Z can tell you all that stuff, but you walked out of there with the same capital you walked into it with, and no
I
new
mean,
ideas.
why would you bet on any man in that way? Anybody. Like, there's nobody
It
that
could
I
be
would
Bill Gates. It
want to
could
talk
be
to. Oh, it
Elon
don't
Musk.
matter.
None of them,
It don't
right?
matter. And going back to when you were talking about the $10 million thing versus the 4,000, 10 million off the top or 4 million a
It was
day for, it's like
right,
we think that we have time.
man. The one thing nobody's guaranteed.
Come
You know what
on.
I'm saying? Yeah,
Give
yeah.
me that. You know what? I take that money that I'm gonna take right off the top is gonna actually add years onto my life.
For you, right? I'm gonna use you yourself to back up for you.
Yeah,
But a lot of cats,
facts.
they better off taking that over the long. To me, I know what I want to do. Right? I'm gonna be completely honest. I would take it over the long term, right? Because I'm at a different point in my life. Right? I don't want to make the money work for me like that. I would just straight invest that money, right? And live a normal life, right?
Right. So
I,
tell me somebody that you said would be better off taking the 4,000. Why would you say that?
no, what I'm saying, and it was over. I forgot how it broke down, but it
You
basically
said
was
some cats would be better off. Explain that.
well because they're gonna blow it, right? Look at the lottery, bro. The majority of people who get lottery winnings end up broke. It's a crazy
Right.
number.
I think individual who thinks like that they're going to self-sabotage
No matter
within
what,
weeks, maybe.
no
The
matter what.
4,000. So I'm saying that they would. I don't know. I don't think they'd be better off either way when you put it in perspective.
Yeah, some people
But
can't win. You're right. It don't matter. It's sad, bro. But
because we'll become targets if you don't want we don't even have enough sense to keep that information to ourselves. We'll tell the wrong people, and you know what I'm saying.
so,
Um,
but so and I'm shifting back a little bit to business. Why do you think? Well, within reason, right? Obviously, you got to have a use for it. But why do you think we don't shop with other black business owners or black business? Because I'm not talking business owner. I'm talking consumer to business, right? Like
mhm.
we will go into our community, and we know there's other community or other nationalities that own the majority of the things we shop at,
Mhm.
right? We'll spend without issue,
Mhm.
but our boy or somebody who looks like us, we go in there, we want a deal or we want to complain. Like it's or we just don't do it. What's behind that, man? And I know I struggle mentally because I look at everything through my lens, right? I'm like, that's stupid
Yeah.
to me, right? I will, but what do you think, man? What causes that?
Um, I think that we created that narrative culturally because there are a lot of us who do, and we do it as a part of community building, right? We created a stigma and we created a narrative that placed stigma on, the whole black on shopping black, right? In business is not congruent with race.
Not at all.
So the moment you say, I have a black owned business, you reduce your business and you reduce your clientele. Because when you say you're black owned, then you are minimizing who you can serve, who you can serve or service, and that tells a person that's not of your hue that who you are serving is not, they're not in that space. That's what you're telling them. And then you're also asking for pity. You're asking
Okay,
someone to buy money on the basis of, you being of a similar hue. That's pity.
okay,
That's not how money works.
not at all.
People,
I like your perspective on
if
that.
you have an essential, if you create a quality product, an essential product that everybody's going to need, and then it's about proximity after that. So the people who are not successful, if you talk about the people that say they expect, they bring people who expect deals. That's because you put your business in the wrong place. You put it around the people, that you already, you just have personal relationships with. That's not what business is.
Yeah, yeah.
You put
You know,
put
I
your
tell
put your
all
business in a novel place.
I do tell everybody, if you're going to start a business, listen, there's nothing wrong with it. Well, I tell people I'm not ever going to create a business that caters to black people only because it's 13% of the entire population maxes me out. And depending on where I am and what product I have, that's going to further reduce that amount.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm with you, right? I create something everybody can use and or everybody can benefit from,
Yeah.
and you market how you market, right?
Don't label it. You know what else we do? We think we have to be the face of everything. I don't know too many real, like, overall, most business owners aren't the face of their companies.
Right.
We don't even know who they are.
Yep.
Some of them, but I mean, most of them are not. And just let's just be honest. A lot of us don't have the profile to attract the consumer base that we want. Because
It's also
business,
America,
yeah, that's
right?
what I'm saying. Business is different. I mean, so that's the reason. But I mean, like I said, I trust me, I spend with people who look like me every day, all day. But it ain't just because they
It's
look like
because you
me.
need that product,
They have a
and right,
quality product, and they're
right.
and they're in a good location. And when I come in, they service me well. Am I conscious about people who look like me? Yeah, I mean, we're in America. I'm
Right.
programmed that way, right? But am I going to sacrifice my hard-earned dollar on
Just
that basis
because.
alone?
Yeah,
Absolutely
yeah.
not. If a person that I know that's more conveniently located, that has a better quality product and better service, and it respects my dollar, is in my path, that's what I'm going to go with.
That makes sense, 100%. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
smart move, right? Smart money, smart way to use your money because
yeah,
we sell time to get money, right? Or you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? That's
yeah.
that in time we can't get back. So I always look at. It's interesting you say that. When I would buy something back when before I started my business, I looked at how many hours it took me to get that. Right. That's how I said if I was going to buy something that I really didn't need. I'm like, man, that's like 12 hours worth of work.
Man,
That ain't worth 12 hours worth of work nowhere. Right.
yeah,
Not for some I'm gonna throw away or not really care. So
yeah,
um it's I guess it's just perspective on that one. So that's cool,
But you
man.
should apply that. We should apply that logic to how we're earning. You know what I mean? Then you wouldn't have to really look at it from a consumer standpoint. Like, yeah, that's going to cost that amount of time and work. It's what you're doing to earn the money. You know, if you find a way to decrease how much time you're putting into it,
Right,
and then you get more out of it, then you can spend how you want, especially when
right.
you make it passive.
Hmm.
But so we just gotta want it culturally. You know,
Yeah,
you can't have one or two successful people in a community. Everybody has
yep,
to be successful
to
for it to
some level.
thrive.
Yep.
So, but we don't. We like to be gatekeepers when it comes to even opportunities in the workforce. You know, we want, instead of seeing someone in our community that has the similar or more potential than you, and like putting them, like leveraging your likability in your job setting to be able to put them in a position that's considered higher than yours. You want to hire them in at the bottom because you feel like they have to work as hard as you to
Right.
get where you're at, instead of thinking like, no, my relationship with them is the capital. So, hey, I'm gonna bring you in here, put you up here, you know what I mean, and then because you qualified to do that, and this is what I want to do. Yeah, you know what I mean. So and that person is going to also open up doors and create opportunities, and that's where economic infrastructures, or quote unquote group economics happen at. But we don't,
You
you
know,
know.
it is interesting you say that. So prior to again, so when I hired people when I was an employee of a company, I had to hire people. Obviously, the positions was below me, but I I hired, so I hired a couple of brothers, right? And I said to them, and this is over some years in different positions. I said, here's the deal. I'm going to bring you in, right? You're most qualified. I'm hiring you because you're most qualified. I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to look at you, right, like anybody else. I'm looking for the most qualified because just hiring you because you look like me ain't. It's not a win, right?
Right.
It's going to cost me and other people that look like me in the long run.
Hmm.
But I just said, listen, you got a maximum of 3 to 5 years to work for me, and then you got to move on. And here's why: I am going to pour into you enough to get you past where I'm at. Right? I'm comfortable on my path, but I need you to be successful. I'm not bringing you in to fill this job. I'm bringing you this to fill your head. Right? I need to fill your head with information and knowledge to make you want more. In the industry I was in, especially in the IT industry, like, hey, 3 to 5 years, you're about to be underpaid anyway. Right? Let's
Hmm.
get you to a point. I will invest in you through the company, right, to get you the skills you need to be able to go on and do the next thing for the next man. Um, and it worked out for a lot of cats. I also got bit in the ass once, right? That one hurt me. I left a company. As a matter of fact, I left a company when I started my very last job, and I said, "Hey man, they were like, hey, do you have anybody that can replace you?" I'm like, I got a guy, right? And at the time, he couldn't make what I was making because they just weren't gonna do it. But they're like, well, listen, this was back in 2015. Let me set that, or 2018. Let me set that standard. It was dude was making $29 to $30 an hour. That's what they bringing him in at. That's starting, bro. So you straight.
Right.
Um, get your own office. You go, man. So I hit bro on I think LinkedIn or Facebook one day. This is probably 3, 4, 5 months in. Got him the job. He good. I hit him up like, man, how's the job going? The first response was LOL. I'm like, this shit something wrong. Like
Right.
that's not a good valid response,
Right.
right? To how was the job going? And he
Right.
hit me back. He said, man, I got fired. You can't leave it at that. Right. I need more. So what happened? He said, man, so I'm pre-diabetic. So he just laid something out, right? So I'm like, okay, he finna give me some bullshit because you got to justify it before you tell me. Essentially, he had my old office. My office was a sealed room, right? Like when I closed the door, there was no windows, nothing like that. Bro, they caught him sleeping on the job, right? And they caught him sleeping on the job twice because when the doors closed, it locked, so you couldn't even just walk in. The only person that had a key to the office was the person whose office it was, and the director of IT. The
Yeah.
director called him twice. I'm like, when he told me that, I said, bro, I can't imagine. Like, how do you start LOL with that? You should have hit me up front as soon as that occurred. Like, hey man, I fucked up that move, man. My apologies or something
Yeah.
because now I can't, bro. I still know this brother, right? When somebody, I'm well known in the industry in this area, so it's kind of racist. But whenever somebody comes across a black dude in IT, they talking about getting a job, they reach out to me. Hey, do you know so and so? Right? Because they just assume black IT people, right, know each other. Man, somebody hit me. It was I think 2022. Hey man, I'm thinking about hiring this dude. I'm like, who? He said he gave me. I said, don't do it. I can't. I'm not saying you shouldn't hire him. I'm saying I wouldn't hire him, and that's about as far as I'm going with it, right? Because I can't put my name. I can't because if I say he go ahead and hire him, that's putting my stamp on it.
But you don't think? Do you think there are any words that you could have used that could have would have made them like kind of neutral for him?
No, because you called me to ask me about it. So I know how it goes. If I ask you something and you don't tell me it's bad, I said he told me it's good. It was cool. It's okay. Right? I'm gonna tell. I can't pretend. Right? Because these people call me to ask my opinion. You know I know this person.
Hmm.
Right? That's why you called me. You looked at my LinkedIn. You looked at his LinkedIn. You know, you see me work together for some years ago, and you see he worked in a spot I used to. I think nah, I'm not. I can't do it, bro.
No, I understand. I
Once you
understand
burn
that.
me, I can't. I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? I can't let
Yeah,
you
I
burn me
get it.
twice. That's
I get it.
just
I get it.
so I don't need. I that was my
I
fault
get
because
it.
I should have spent more time looking, right. And what I mean by it is when I went
Yeah.
back and looked at his work history, it was a whole lot of jobs, and I'm like, yeah, that was on me. I fucked that up. Right. I didn't do my due diligence before I put his name. I actually reached out to him to get him that spot. So it was really on
See,
me.
but look, that's another reason why you probably won't make the same mistake again. But I'm saying we like to practice nepotism, and we have too much, unpacked trauma as a culture to practice nepotism in that way. Um, you know, and I don't think we give ourselves enough credit collectively, as a culture, to know that a lot of us are doing really well, and we're only talking about it from a, if it's just a purely cultural standpoint, i.e. so-called black people,
Right.
that's where the conversation is that's the where I'm like, it's not, I don't see success. I think is and that's I think that's by design, and we're like, and we're not prepared to do what it would take to to change that. But there are different subsets of us that do, that are very successful out here and have, small communities of, us building collectively, healthily. It's happening. It just, I don't think it'll happen, in a mass, from a mass perspective, in my lifetime or lifetimes to come.
So do we just say screw the whole community? Let me just focus on the small community I created or the small community around me. Like what do you think? Right? Because I look at it. I talked to one of my homies. He's at the fringe, and he's like, "Oh man, we need a purge. We need a purge." I'm like, "Bro, that's not real, right? Like, come on, let's keep it real. Like, you know what I'm saying?" He's like, "Oh, we just
I
need to."
mean, hypothetically, it can be. We need a purge in terms of, you know, identifying the reality that there are just, hey, there's is this side and there's that side.
So, but
We gotta quit.
how do we change the narrative of wait, not I won't call it that. How do we stop glorifying the bullshit? Like that's I think our one of our biggest issues. We glorify the bullshit. I saw a cat coming home from the joint. This is some years ago, right? 8 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years or something like that. Bro, they had so much shit laid out for him. A Facebook post. Oh, bro, coming home today. We got to, I mean, everybody, the community came together, right? They got money and jewelry and clothes and hoes. And I'm like, man, if that brother was coming from college or the military, whether you like the military or not, that's a service, right? He
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
get shit,
That's
right?
it. That's all I'm saying. We reinforce our negative behaviors.
What can we do, man? Like, we gotta something's gotta change.
You know that. I'm saying, the answer's in the question, in terms of, you know, stop glorifying the bullshit.
But
That's gotta happen. Like,
it's
but look, the bullshit is even bigger than what we even want to acknowledge. The bullshit is, like, we celebrate our children being miseducated and funneled through systems that only exploit them without leveraging their talents or their minds, and not even holding them to the standard of expanding their minds even on those journeys, i.e., sports and entertainment.
yeah,
We do that. And then it's like, if nothing else, do you know that we can change the whole trajectory of how our children are educated? We can control that whole narrative just by leveraging their abilities in the sports arenas.
right, right.
Like,
You gotta
we
you
can
gotta
say as parents that we collectively, as a board or as a council, or just as parents in these communities, we demand that our children are afforded these amenities, and this level of education and
Get
these
something for their
resources
efforts.
for us to. Otherwise, we're not only are we not allowing our, not only are we won't allow our children to participate, we won't show up at the door.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, bro, you take us out of sports, and it's probably not going. It's
Yeah,
not
even entertainment as well. Like
right. Right.
if we tell if we banned our children from posting their talents and their lives on social media,
It'll die in a
we,
second. Social media would
I
crumble.
mean, exactly. Like we can leverage our social capital that way,
No,
but
you got a
we
damn good
won't.
point.
We
Because
won't.
sports, one of the things with sports is, especially for the younger kids, right? They don't get shit out of it, but they have to work longer, right? Go to ball practice in the morning or football practice in the morning before school. Got to do it after. You got to travel for the games, and they get nothing, right? The only requirement is you keep your grades up, right? Which I'm support, but like, what can these? There needs to be something additional given to these kids. That's one thing I'll give credit about the NCAA when they start allowing the likeness, the students to get paid. I'm like, man, about time because that was some
They
bullshit.
just got ahead of the wave, right? They
Right,
just
because it
got
was
ahead of the
coming.
wave.
They get to
So
control it and limit it a little more.
we shouldn't have settled for that. We shouldn't have settled for that, right? Because it can't just be about the people that's playing sports. It has to be about the other minds that are going down these paths, that these more traditional paths. Like we need, just as much as you need the athleticism or the creativity to maintain these industries. You need all the other aspects of it, such as you need the scientists for medical science, or even analytical data. You need people who can understand that and get into these on these working at Google and working at Meta. You need those because that's where the important information is. That's where
Yeah,
all the
no doubt,
data is. Right? That's how they control our narrative. So
no
we
doubt.
need people in those industries to even and we need to be sharing information. We need to stop doing so much fucking gatekeeping.
Yeah, nah, you on point there, bro. Absolutely. You talked about how much data is and how they control data. The f- I've always heard, man, China's a communist country, blah blah blah. When I went over to China the first time, and I've been that motherfucker probably, I don't know, somewhere 15, 20 times,
Mhm.
right? I look at the news and like this is you don't shit. If they don't show you, you don't see it, right? Like the newspapers, and I'm like, that's crazy that they limit. Then I came back and I realized we do the same thing. And what I mean by that is you can see anything, but we feed you the same shit over and over and over, which is just like not allowing you to see anything else because you keep showing everybody the same thing. They keep talking about the same shit. And I know you've seen the little clips where they're like, man, the news is programmed. They just show all the same exact words and stories on all these different news channels.
Mhm.
Bro, it's crazy how easy people can be controlled and manipulated with data. Um, and it's like, hey, if I want this to be the hot product, I just keep showing it, right? And eventually, somebody with money is going to buy it, and then the people without money is like, well, I got to do it too, right? Because I saw somebody with money get this. It's crazy, man. We are
Look at
easily
how
controllable.
right, because we don't leverage our talents the way that we could or that we should. Look at how outdated our educational model is.
Yep, yep,
Like,
yep.
right. And then look how and it lacks creativity. So what really should be happening is, our children should be coming into pristine environments, right? We should be intentional about embedding a family-like atmosphere. You know what I mean? Where it's
Yep,
intentional, chivalry is intentional. You
right.
know, a healthy balance of masculine and feminine energy is embedded within the educators, right? It needs to be very. We need to watch it. It needs to be cameras everywhere,
I'm with you on that one too.
not only to protect us, but also to capture data. We need to be creative in terms of what we're teaching and how we're teaching. Our children do need to have nap time and therapeutic time, and just learn a different way and eat healthier foods, because a lot of them are not exposed to it, right? So
Right.
we need to be intentional about that. It needs to look like the world that we want them to build. We need to
Create,
make our academic
create the
environments. We
plan.
need to simulate it there.
Yeah,
And it's not hard to do. It just takes the people who give a fuck
right.
collectively. And a lot
And
of us,
enough of them.
even though we're doing well, even though when we get our money going, we get our economy going, then we think we're still in survival mode. We're just at a higher function at a higher level,
Right.
but we don't really pull each other up. And I'm part of that too. I'm not gonna act like I'm above that reproach. I'm just saying that that's what happens with us. So,
So,
um,
but how do we change that mindset? Because again, when like I said, when I hired the young, like the last guy I hired, I told him, listen, 3 to 5 years, I need you to be better and do better. And so when I
mhm,
started my first business, I pulled him as my partner, right? I'm like,
mhm,
bro, he was scared, right? Because he's like, and we didn't, I'll be upfront, we didn't have the best plan, right? But he was scared because he had a good salary, right? A decent salary,
mhm,
68, 75, somewhere in that range. Again,
yeah.
this was 2018, young man in his 20s. That's not bad, right? But I'm like, I need you. I said, I can do this by myself and benefit. And I had another cat that wanted me to do it. It was a dude of a different hue. We'd done some work together, but I'm like, I I, I I didn't feel comfortable with him on that level. Plus, I know this dude's knowledge. I know his trajectory, and if I can do this with him, and he has a son, his son can see that, right? And I pulled him with me, and shit, he doubled the salary in the first year, right? So it was like I don't understand why people don't do that more. You can't spread it out throughout everybody. You just can't, right? But I have a dude on my Facebook, man. I brought him in as an intern for me back in bro. I was somewhere between 2000 2004, right? Getting the IT, and he was already in the right path. I can't take it. I can't take credit for that, right? Young man graduated from Notre Dame, I think. Um, but I pulled him in because they brought me in when they was like, hey, we got some different people that we can potentially hire for this position, whatever the interview stuff was, and like we get this young brother because his mind is right, right? Because we need more hymns, right? So I always try to help people and put them in positions where I know they can pass, and that's normal to me, right? That's like there's what I mean by normal is that just makes sense, but I don't understand why I don't like. I struggle. That's one of my downfalls is I try to I expect other people's minds to be like mine,
I mean, it's nothing wrong with having a standard. So I
right?
think that's where we missed the opportunity to agree at when you were saying, because it would I think it just ended up being semantics when you were talking when you using the word capacity,
Hmm.
and then we use potential. Um, but I think that it just needs to be a standard, and I do have a standard for us, regardless of what the stats say or what my experiences say. I think very highly of us collectively.
Right.
I pull that from the level of resiliency that is undeniable. So I have the standard. That's why I'm very critical. Some people might even call me hypercritical. I might even call myself hypercritical. I am. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I may be a bit brash at times, but the reality is that's I speak in the language that we understand.
Mhm.
The only you got universal languages: money and violence, and then the subsets of that is when I speak brashly, it's aggressive, right? That's the
Right.
language that we understand. That's why it's so
Right.
provocative. That's why
Yeah.
we respond to negativity on social media.
Right. Yeah. We do that, and that's crazy. And I tested the damn theory like 3 times in 3 different groups in the last week. I made a positive ass post, right, about relation in a woman's relationship about marriages, and I made a negative ass post, right? And somebody noticed because he's like, bro, I see what you're doing, right? Because the positive, there's nobody there. A few people. Negative is nonstop, right? And I'm just like, that's crazy that we understand that, right? But that you're right. That is how we communicate. Um, but I was again, I'm a different generation, right? The reason I feel like everybody can do the same everything is because anybody I've ever saw, I'm like, if he can do it, I can do it too. And then I also think I'm not special, right? So if I can do it, you can do it too, right? Like I don't put me on a higher
That's where the
pedestal,
flaw is. That's where the flaw in your thinking is.
and it is. I'm
Because
admitting it.
how when somebody like yourself who has succeeded the way you have in terms of creating your own opportunity reduces themselves like that, like no, I mean
But I'm
you
not.
absolutely are special.
I'm not. I'm special because enough other people are doing. When I say I'm not special, I mean I don't. I could be wrong, but I feel like if I can do it, everybody else is capable. There was nothing extra
No,
handed to me, right?
no.
It wasn't like somebody said, "Oh, here's a secret. Let me give you this little secret information." It was
Okay.
just basic
No.
principle.
Here's where the difference is. You took that negative that misfortune and you transmuted it into an energy that resulted in exactly what was in your mind, right? So I think what you may be implying is that you don't think you're better than
Yes.
people,
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, I'm
right?
not better than anybody,
Yeah,
right? When
but
I
you're
entered the
definitely
okay,
different.
I'll stop.
You
I'll
know
stop
what I
doing
mean?
that one,
Yeah,
right?
like
When I entered the streets, I told my older brother, Jay, I said, man, listen, I'm doing this so my kid don't have to. I'm doing this so I can put my family on a different trajectory. And I'm like, hey, don't watch me. Don't let me do no dumb shit, right? Money wise, like, bro, I didn't until I was at the end of my little. I didn't have nothing flossy. It was a waste of money, right? I did it with the intent to not have to do it ever again. I did it with the intent to for my kids not to have to see the same shit I saw. Because again, I had a kid early, so my son saw, the he saw the progression more than anybody else, but he also
Mhm.
saw the negative shit too.
Mhm.
And I don't mean my shit in the street, but just the negative shit around the time and the areas we
Yeah.
were in.
Yeah.
But I look at it, I'm like, man, I'm not better than anybody else. This is not something that's not. And I'm gonna go back to capable and potential, but
Are you saying like from more just from a human standpoint, like you think all
yeah,
humans
we
are?
I think we all no, not all, because I'm saying as black folks, so-called black folks, we've been through so much shit that I think we've developed a different set of skills, life skills than
Yeah,
which is
like
standard across the board.
resilience, right?
Right.
Like
We are very resilient. The resiliency with us is high. And so I know not every person, but when I look at us as, I keep saying so-called black people because I like that. I feel like there's ways like we have the knowledge, we have the ability, right? But we're just like we need to change that direction because we can
you
do
so
so much.
hopeful, you
I,
so
I am,
hopeful.
bro. It's and it's crazy because I'm on the optimistic side. I'm like, because I've pulled so I don't judge it based on me, right? I mean, I did it, but I've also pulled people out who did it too. Like my first business partner, bro. They were homeless. He lived in a shelter, right? Um, he had a kid before he was married. He had a baby mama and a
Yeah,
wife, right?
yeah,
And I'm like, this dude actually done more,
right.
right?
Okay,
And I'm like,
so
so I'm finding these people, and maybe it's the energy that I'm finding the right people.
right. So look, that's what I'm saying. That's a very special and unique skill to have discernment.
But it's
You're
also
not gonna.
common sense, bro. I can't,
It's not common sense. Why do you think it's common
because if
sense?
I see a dude that's doing some stupid shit, I know he's not a good investment of my time. Like common
You
sense will
know that,
say,
right? Like, but you make it so you're going to make it when you make a decision like that. You also consider how it's going to affect you
right,
and your family,
yep,
right?
yep,
So that goes back to strong family principles because you know he's going to be an extension of and a reflection of that.
right,
Most, I ain't gonna say most because that's not true, but a lot of us will literally pull not only pull people into opportunities, we will tolerate and reinforce their negative behaviors in those opportunities just because that's my cousin, that's my sister's
right,
uncle. This like that is not a person with good like emotional intelligence or that unique skill of discernment.
right.
You're
And I
not
don't
gonna do
get me
that.
wrong. I learned from getting burned. Right. It was
Yeah,
experience.
you learn from getting burnt. Is what I'm saying. Like a lot of us don't don't apply that. That's a skill. That's a life skill. That's a functional life skill.
Okay.
And what that's do you know that I have peers on social media that some of them I grew up with, some of which I grew up with literally, that I know are just as, if not more intelligent than me, especially in certain areas, but they will not show that. And it goes back to whatever image or reputation they have built over time through their childhood. They are still stuck there one way or another. And this is with all due respect. And so a lot of us, yeah, we have the potential. We don't have the skill or the confidence
Confidence. Yep. Yep.
to apply our, you know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
you, we'll settle. We'll say, hey, we'll settle for just sports and entertainment, just to have y'all, laughing at us, cheering us on the whole time, making money off of us, exploiting us, and then sending y'all kids off to college or trade school, and so they don't have to be slaves, economic slaves
Right.
for one or two generations. That's what happens because we won't take ownership of our narrative.
I think one thing that we struggle with as a culture is sacrifice. And we've done a more sacrifice than anybody else as a people, but we don't want to sacrifice for the long term, right?
Do you
It's
think we know what that means?
everybody knows what sacrifice, right? We know
No, I'm
that.
talking about for the long. When you say sacrifice for the long term,
Yeah,
do you think we know what that?
I,
Do you think we understand what that means?
no, I'm gonna say I think we understand, but we don't care. We live for
Okay.
tomorrow. right? Everybody's and some people say we live for today. I say we live for tomorrow, just tomorrow, not
Why? Why do you think that is?
because we have an addiction to our instant gratification,
Okay.
right? We have an addiction for instant gratification. Um, we want people to praise us that don't matter to us or shouldn't matter to us.
Do you think we want that, or do you think in a lot of ways we need that for
Well,
us
we
to
need it
have a
now,
sense
right?
of?
We
Okay.
it's a want and a need, right?
Okay. Okay.
No, it's a want. We what a
No,
need to me is something that can't go away. You need that. I need air. I need water.
no,
I can't replace it.
I'm not saying in like in to survive, but I'm saying, do you think we like? I believe, just like I say,
We need it to get through the day.
okay, like think about it like this. You know how you look at one of your your children, and you obviously know they have potential, and you created the environment for them to thrive in, right? But you also know they need your validation in a lot of ways.
Right, right.
And then some, and you know that sometimes we could make them too dependent on that by by
Yeah,
reinforcing minimal effort,
yeah,
and so they become dependent on that,
yep.
and they won't develop a sense of self. They will therefore not need your validation or affirmation to survive literally, but for them to thrive they need that
Right.
to thrive. So I think that in a lot of ways we've become dependent on that from a cultural standpoint, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, I got you. I I'm gonna shift subjects a little bit. And I want to go back to, we kind of focus, or I like to focus and talk about dating relationships. We have different opinions, but the reason I want to focus on that, or I'm always so concerned with it, is I think everything we talk about goes back
Hmm.
to the home, right?
Yeah,
The
I would
confidence,
agree.
the building. How do we fix, or what do we do, right? From a relationship dating standpoint, to get people, men and women, um, to not see each other as enemies, or to not be so self about yourself, right? Like, I know I got homies like, man, if I date a chick, she gotta do this, and if she don't, I'm done. Like, bro, there's what happened to compromise? Like, a relationship is a compromise
Hmm.
between however many people are involved.
Hmm.
How do we fix this so we can fix the kids, right? Because if we don't encourage mothers and fathers to be together, um, the kids are gonna be fucked up. Like, I had a argument with somebody because it was like, well, you don't have to be in a relationship or married to have a kid. No, you don't. We know that. We see it. But
Hmm.
why would you advocate? Why would you actively say they don't need to be together, knowing the data? Everybody knows the data, right?
Right.
And
Right.
no relationship is guaranteed to work. But
Right.
god damn it, it can't work if you don't try,
Right.
right? How do we rebuild that family unit, right? How does that happen,
Right.
right? In our community, right?
Yeah.
And I get yelled at sometimes. Well, you ain't, your wife, right? You can't be in. So,
Yeah.
I don't get to talk to the sisters. They
That's
be mad at me,
deflection. That's deflection.
right? They be mad
Right.
at me.
I ain't gonna
So,
lie, your dynamic makes it easy for
oh no, 100%.
them. Right.
I can ask a
Right.
question. They be like,
But
oh, you married to
yeah,
white, don't matter. You don't get to
easy to
speak on black
deflect.
women. I'm like, ain't this a bitch?
Yeah. Right. So, okay, my question is this: Do you want
I want the real.
the real answer?
I want the real.
Okay. The real answer is start faking.
What you mean? What you mean?
We have to just start faking healthy relationships.
So the kids can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Fake it till
Like
you make it.
literally,
Okay.
like literally, I'm saying, when we talk about the concept of polygamy,
Hmm.
most times it comes up, it's reduced to a patriarchal uh, weaponization or a sexual thing, and a lot of
Hmm.
us only understand it that way. But
Right.
it literally is about nation building, right?
Right.
So the reality is, a lot of us are too damaged to really be qualified for a 100% healthy relationship. We
Yeah, you
won't be
right.
able to enjoy it. We won't be able to. We really don't have the tools to function in one. You know what I mean? But if we identified a common goal of knowing that this is the only way, this is part of our survival, our children having to see what that looks like, we're going to have to simulate those things. And that means two people just, we know that we're only, our main reason for being together is only to simulate what this looks like for a
But
family unit.
man,
I mean,
that sounds like that takes way more work than waiting and trying to find that for real. I know it's too
you,
late now, right?
no, I'm saying, if you add, that's the way. I'm saying, I mean, we could talk about all these different possibilities,
Right. But it's where
but
we
I'm
at right
saying,
now.
if we go the long route, then we're going to be more and more behind other cultures because you know what? They've already adopted that.
No doubt, and I've
We
seen
don't
that.
know about their trauma. That's on
Right,
purpose. But we all know, like you and I know that they have them. With all due
right.
respect to other cultures, right? With all due respect to so-called white people, my experience has shown me that those groups of people, not all of them, but it's a large portion of that population or that demographic that does more drugs or just as many as so-called black people,
Right.
right? I mean, but obviously there are racial nuances within that aspect, but I'm saying that it happens. It's the same amount of, if not more, dysfunction
Yeah,
in other
yeah. It
cultures.
just ain't broadcasted.
It ain't broadcasted because and they don't come to social media with it.
Right. Yeah,
They
you
don't.
talked about earlier, we feed off that negativity. We bring it.
Right.
I know a white friend of mine, their parents got divorced when they were like, I don't know, 2nd, 3rd grade. They didn't find out till they were in high school, right? Because the parents never left, right? They stayed in the
See?
same house.
See?
They did all the events. And I was
Right.
like, that shit ain't never happened. Where I was, I ain't never seen that,
Right.
right?
Or when it happens, right, but when we it doesn't end the right way. We don't honor it. So there are a lot of us,
I've seen people stay together for the kids, but
but
that's
then
not
soon as
happily,
one of them pass, when soon as one of them pass, the other person doesn't honor them. They start to expose them. You see the reality of it.
right?
These other cultures don't ever see that because it's within their bylaws, their cultural bylaws. You don't dishonor your people.
Yeah,
You know what
we
I mean?
definitely don't got that one written down.
Right. You know what's crazy is even when we look at the and this might be going a little bit left. I don't want to stay here, but I'm
All
just
right.
giving an
Oh, okay.
example. Right? When we look at, pedophilia across cultures, right? We will point at other cultures. We ignore that aspect in our culture, but we blast it on social media. We don't really address it.
Mm,
And other cultures, they have it going there. There's a particular subculture of, so-called white people that actually has a lot of that going on, but that's not their image.
right.
You know what I mean? They don't get out there. They don't
They
blast
shut
their
it down
people.
quick when you see it.
Right, right. And I'm not saying they don't
Epstein.
handle it,
Right, right.
right? But I'm
Epstein.
saying, yeah, it's like, they will never let it become part of their cultural image
Right.
because that's what matters is how, the world looks at you culturally.
But we don't have control of our own, right? Unless we all do the
We
right thing.
we won't realize our control. We have the control over. We can literally, we're in the age of information, really past it, right? We can
Yeah, I
control
guess
our
nobody can
narrative, right?
stop us. Right.
But guess
You're
what?
right.
What do we do? What
We gotta
what
look
are
for
the
it though.
look at the top, there's a lot of content on social media from people who look like us that is healthy content for the culture. But what do we now? We know that there's the nuance of algorithm behind it, right? But
Right,
I'm
right,
saying we help that. We tolerate, we give negative attention to things that are inappropriate as it relates to our culture. Like we shows like Krishan Rock and Blueface, like that should
yeah,
never, we shouldn't allow that.
right,
This is our children.
right. When and from a data standpoint, when you sit on some video, image, whatever, it pays attention to how long you sit. The more people sit longer on those, and the positive, they're gonna stop showing the positive.
That's what
Right?
I'm
The
saying.
algorithm. So me and one of my guys argued about that. The algorithm is set to fuck us up. I was like, bro, the algorithm only worked off the data it gets. We give it the data. If all we looked at was Christian churches, that's all it can show us.
Right. The algorithm is doing what the algorithm is
Right.
supposed to do.
But
Right.
so
It just reflects who we are.
absolutely. They talked about TikTok in China versus TikTok in the US and how it's all positive over there. So yeah,
I
because they
believe that's
don't,
a real thing.
yeah, it is. Because they don't do the same shit. Right?
Right.
They don't allow that to be their
Right.
image.
You know
Right?
why?
Because it's not capitalist. There's no money in it.
Look at their school systems. It starts in their how they
Right.
train and breed their children to think outside of that.
Yeah.
I come across certain children, certain young people who just didn't take to social media. Do you know what the majority of them tell me? That they end up being dependent on things like, THC and mushrooms because when the more they look around, how weird their own generation is to them, how weird the world
Right,
is,
right.
it's hard for them to handle.
They got a deal. It needs some help.
Mhm. Right, right. And these are the ones that just really, really didn't take to social media. And
Hmm.
so that just tells you, the shape that our children are in, and these are going to be the adults.
Right.
You know what I mean? Our generation, as far as leadership, failed
We blew it.
big
I'll
time.
take
I
responsibility. I tell them all the
mean,
time. We
terrible.
blew it. Right.
I'm so disappointed in us. Like,
I ain't blaming the crack on the generation before us, and we just blew it.
no,
We
no, no,
can
no.
we can dig into why it's blown.
There was enough information there for us to do better
Absolutely.
collectively. It,
Right.
it was. I'm not saying there's not real reasons why a lot of us didn't. I'm saying collectively there was enough
Right.
information and enough inspiration for us to believe that we can do better collectively, and
Yep.
we just didn't.
And I think that's one of the things why I absolutely enjoy going and discussing with you, because you don't you make sure you hold accountable. Make sure people know they have choices. Right. We all
Mhm,
know we have choices. We have the information. We actively choose wrong. Right. And
mhm.
that's something I think we have to do as men, right? And I go around with my guys. He dates a black chick. We be arguing about. I'm like, bro, you have a negative connotation about black women. I'm like, we're supposed to be the leader,
So
and
boom,
I don't
right there.
have one,
I don't want to cut you off. Keep your
right?
thought, right?
Right?
I just want to draw. I'm going to put a mark there. When you said that he got a black woman right, but he has a negative connotation. Remember, I was saying that we are so messed up that we can't even receive a quality relationship. We can't even perceive that that's real. We can't function
Right.
healthily in it, right? We can't even enjoy it enough to really build a real happy family.
You know,
So
and
I
it's
want you to say
crazy,
what you was gonna say
right?
though.
And I'm just saying it's crazy because I'm like, bro, but I'm sitting here telling you the problem is is us, right? I said you have a good black woman. She's an anomaly. Her dad was. I said, you see what you just said? It's about the dad, right? She had a strong dad. I'm like, how is that? He's like, oh well, they got to choose better. I'm like, do you know why they're not choosing to have sex with the right men? Right? They're dead. Right? Like
Yeah.
it's crazy because a lot of I think we fear accountability. We trying to hold black women accountable on everything, and I think we do, and we ain't holding enough
Hey,
accountability here.
honestly, I've been going back. I go back and forth about it, right? Like sometimes I'm thinking, I'm like, man, yeah, I think I agree more with Kai in terms of men being more accountable. But then I'm like, nah, I mean, these man, some of these hoes, you know what I'm saying? But
But why are
but
they doing it though? Right? Let's go to
no,
the
no.
root cause.
If you obviously it's mutual accountability, we know that, right? We can agree there.
Yep, yep,
But I think I've been leaning more on the side of it's about where we put our seeds.
100%. Right?
You know,
If I plant shit in the desert, ain't nothing gonna grow. I,
yeah, I think you can put women in the secondary column of, hey, you need to show discernment in terms of who you let put the seed in you, right? But the
yeah,
first line of defense is where we choose to put our seed. And you know
absolutely.
what's crazy? I've really been, I think I might have just, my mindset of being a person who challenges, narrative is where what motivated me to really challenge you on that. But I'm like, really, dude, you think that way too? Because I literally just told both of my sons, like, hey, in your life, your penis is your paintbrush.
Yes,
You
sir.
can design your life exactly how you want, just based off what you do with that. So I
No
actually
doubt.
do believe that, right? But I'm saying, like, I also have daughters, and I also have female sisters. I mean, obviously female sisters, but
I
female
know, yeah, I
cousins.
was gonna give you a pass on that one.
Yeah, no, no, no. I'll call myself sisters, female cousins, female peers. Home, I'm like, I'm looking at them with the side eye, like, like, come on, you know what I mean?
I mean,
Um,
we it used to be a saying like if your daughter was on a stripper, you failed as a dad, right? Nope, that was just what we said, right? Because like we were supposed to teach our kids. Like I look at my daughter and I look at myself and I say, man, I wanted to make sure she didn't pick the wrong dude. Now I can't guarantee life will be happy ever after, right? But it didn't start wrong. And I'm like, the chicks that be wilding out, yes, you have a choice. But there's some chicks that wild out and don't do any, wild out sexually, but still don't have a bunch of kids and get married and do the right things. I think for us, when we see the chicks wild, it's because they just didn't have that strong male, either dad, brother, somebody in the family to guide them. You know what I'm saying?
well, okay, I agree, but I also think it's another side of that with the sometimes you can be too restrictive with your kids and particularly your daughter to where, you know, it, when she does get that freedom, she just really doesn't know how to handle herself. She kind of gets overwhelmed with that, and then maybe just it's because really just one bad decision away from fucking up.
Yeah.
And so while I agree with you, it's I do know of cases where you know women had pretty healthy relationships with their father, and just went
But
left.
yeah, it's always gonna be that. Yeah, it's I don't know, bro. I understand that you still make your own decision as an adult. I mean, that's just humans, right? We can raise them all the way right, and then
Yeah,
get on the real world and do their own thing. I mean, because
yeah,
negative influences is negative influences, right?
yeah.
We can only protect them for so long. You
But
shelter them too much,
I agree overall. I agree overall. Like it does come down to often it comes down to the relationship with the father. I mean, I think we settle for just having a father in the picture when it's really about having healthy fathers.
yes,
Healthy
absolutely.
healthy men, and not just the father as well as other uncles, brothers. They
Right,
have
you
to
need
be
positive role
healthy
models.
men, and because you have to have healthy relationships, those that are intimate in origin and in an emotion, but not necessarily physically intimate.
Right,
And then that goes back to our understanding of what real intimacy and love is. I don't think it's smart for us to act like we should build relationships based on love.
love is
Like
not
that
love is not enough.
because it's conditional. What I mean? And so
True that.
I think that, and then we don't even understand even how to love each other based, from a gender specific perspective. You
Right, right,
know, we don't need the same things. We don't look at men and women don't perceive the same things as love. We don't have the same definition of what
right. Our
love is,
viewpoint's different.
right?
I don't want a
But
woman to love me the way I love her. That's too. You know what I'm saying?
right, and
That's
that
too.
and we the fact that we put ourselves on the same plane, even in that space, is where we going wrong at. Like we are not equal.
No,
That's on purpose, and that's a
it's
good thing.
design. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but not being equal does not mean lesser or more. It means you're not equal. You're not the same. You're not
The
on the
strengths are in
same
different places.
frequency. Right. And we need to honor that. Like, it's the reason why women can have babies and men can't. It's the reason why men, have muscles, what I mean, and
Right.
women don't in the way, what I'm
Not
saying?
naturally. Right. Right.
It's a reason why the energies are different, right? We have different roles here, and no matter how you choose to live your life, what you do, because what you do in the privacy of your own bedroom, or even outside of that, outside of the public's eye, is your own business, right? We don't ever have to know that.
Right.
You know what I
Right. Right.
mean?
I'm with you.
Like
I'm with
that.
you.
Like so, I mean, on either side of it. Not
Right.
that I
I'm
want to
with
have
you.
a conversation. I don't have. We don't have to have a conversation about sexuality, but I'm saying that
I know what you mean.
I just want to stick to the facts that we are different and it's on purpose. We are not equal, because if we were equal, then there would be no reason for it to be any kind
Together.
of differences, right?
There'll be no
Like
reason to get
it's
together. Right.
right,
It's
yeah.
right.
So like we just need to honor that. If we start to honor that, I think we would be able to. That's where we can meet at. I mean, we acknowledge the reality of our dynamics, but we just don't do that. We are literally like it. It almost triggers me, even though I know it's social media and it's fake, but it almost triggers me when I see, men even responding to certain things when and they'll use the cliche response of or recant of, if a man did that, then it would be this, and it's like,
Right.
man,
Right. Because we're
dude,
different. It's
you
supposed to be different.
reinforce it, right? Like that's a good thing. Like I'm not going to use that to leverage, like
You'll make me look at that different now.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
come on, like that's yeah, like yeah, because if a
Or
man,
matching energy. Like I don't like when people say, "Man, we matching. I match
weird,
same energy." I'm like, that's not what you're supposed to do.
no,
You
like
don't match a woman's energy like
or
that.
even
That's
lying to ourselves, like women acting like a man or being in your masculine energy, man, what?
nah.
Like
You're right.
we just create problems where none exist.
Yeah. And we don't find solutions. We just create the problems. I
Right
know
there,
it's
there are no solutions to find because there was no
there was
problem.
no
If you
problem.
if you create the problem, then the solution is going to
Just
just be an
stop. Just
argument.
stop. Right. Just
Yeah,
stop
like
doing it. Right. Yeah. It is weird though when and I think a lot of us, especially women, are looked like if you say, well, that's a man's job or that's something that a man can well, I can do it too. Yes. But you're not built for it. Right? It's not normal for you to do that. And they're different. I think fan, I'm traditional. There's gender roles. I'm always going to see that. Does that mean one person can't pick up the slack for the other one due to whatever? Everybody should be fully capable of both, but you don't have to, right? Your my job is to protect my wife. But if you see something and you and I, if you see something I don't see, bring that to my attention, right? Protect me so I can take care of that.
Yeah, I think that okay. So I think it comes down to how we perceive. We just having the wrong discussion. We're talking about capability, you know,
Right.
and it's not about what we're capable of doing. It comes down to when it comes down to behaviors, it's about frequency, intensity, and duration. It's about, so yeah, you can um you can play basketball as well. We're both capable, right?
Right.
But we play on different levels of intensity.
Right.
Different, if you did it as frequent as I did this, if you did it on the same intensity as I did it, or if you did it for the duration that I'm doing it, you wouldn't be able to.
Right. You'll never
And
see a woman in the NBA.
right,
Not unless they just be like, we gotta let her in. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Like,
right.
or
So
again, if she'd have to be a freak of nature, bro.
I mean, then we would have to, examine that from a different perspective, right?
Right, 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 right.
You know what I'm saying,
Right, I
right?
get you. Right,
But I'm saying that like, it's no different than, can a man be nurturing like a woman? Like yeah, we're capable of being nurturing,
it's just not our
but
design.
if we had to do this as much, all the time, if that was the majority of our role, we're just not built to do it. We're not built to maintain that.
So that brings up something because one of my boys was always say, "Man, a kid raised in a with a single father has a much higher chance." So I did the research. He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
But
It's it's nuanced though.
I also found that the reasons behind that is that single man typically has more female resources, moms, sisters, aunts that also help those children. So they almost get that, I won't say two parent, but that two gender, upbringing because they get to
Right.
see, right? And
But
that
no, go ahead. Go ahead. I
I
want to
was
go ahead.
saying, and
Finish
that's
finish
I
that
think one
thought.
of the differences because typically when you're a single father, you also wanted to have custody. Where I think most single mothers had no choice. Dudes left, I shouldn't say had no choice.
Ah, see, that's
Let me
debatable.
roll back. I want to say most of the single mothers, dude left. I'll say it that way. Most dudes left, they don't take their kids. For whatever reason they leave, they don't take their kids, right? And because she
You
going
saying that, but do they want like do a lot of those do those single mothers not leverage their legal authority?
I'm sure they do, but if you think about most men and the jobs we have, it's not conducive to having the kids in the house, right? We don't do most of us don't do the 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We work extended hours or two jobs. We have to do whatever we have to do, right? If you're a single dad with no help, right? You don't have that structure behind you. Is it beneficial to the children?
Okay. So this is where I'm gonna challenge it at. Like,
Okay,
so just okay. So yeah, when you do the research and you see that, most men have the female network to be able to assist him, but it's also most men, I would argue that most of those men have the emotional capacity and logic to to utilize their network.
right? No, I'm
Where
with
a
you.
lot of times the women, they get so caught up in being victims to where they won't really
No,
utilize
I'm with you.
their, you know
I'm
what
in
I'm
100%
saying?
agreement with you on that.
So I mean,
I'm
either
just telling you.
way,
I'm not saying
the children lose.
right,
It,
right, absolutely,
okay, you can produce a more functional being out here in society, but they're not gonna have the nurturing skills, the emotional
right,
capacity to really build a nation. They're just gonna
right.
have the ability to go out here and function in
To
society.
survive.
It is you
Okay,
need, like, that's how necessary women are, right? You need somebody,
absolutely.
or an energy to remind you that you have to be human. Just like when you're a man and you're going out here and we'll kill ourselves we'll sacrifice ourselves in the most unhealthiest way because we're programmed to do that, to be providers and protectors for our families, right?
Right,
You need that person to be watching you when you ain't watching yourself and saying,
right,
hey, no, you need to chill out. You know
right.
what I
Slow it
mean?
down. Right, you're doing
Like,
too
yeah,
much.
you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, or we'll just keep going. Our
right.
egos will get in the way,
Right, because we feel like, well, we
right?
kind of have to. Right,
Right.
this is a man. If I don't
Right,
do this,
because you
right,
can't do one. You got to do one or the other. That's what we're going to go in that lane. We don't even if we sit back and we start being more nurturing and more in our quote unquote feminine energy. a lot of our masculine responsibilities are going to get neglected, or we're not going to function at
Right.
the highest of our abilities. I mean, that's just how necessary we are to each other.
Oh, and to your point, like I definitely hope when I see a woman that's in a relationship and she on Facebook like begging or some shit, I'm like, bro, failing. Like your girl should never get to a point where she's asking for help publicly and she still got you. And I know that's probably wrong, but my traditional ways, like you you supposed to figure that out before she get the because bro, that's not a good
But
look.
that's why I say it's mutual, right? I'll put him at the
Right,
front of
right.
that issue, right? But she should have enough respect for him not to do that.
True that. Right?
Right. But I put him at the beginning, at the front of that, because even if you wasn't doing it like you're supposed to be as a man, you should have also by now set the tone in your relationship into where your woman would know what boundaries not to cross
Right.
with you as
I'm
well.
not even saying you can't ask for help because shit happens. Everybody follow hard times. Like,
No,
but
I'm
bro
saying
should be
publicly.
asking.
It's a
Right. If
way
you're
that
gonna
you
ask
should do
public,
it.
he should be the one like, hey, this is what we need.
Yeah, you can
You know,
tell him like, "Hey, this is what give him the solution. You can ask this person, and we can do this. You do what you got to do, but this is what we need." And of
because
course, if you're not gonna do it, then
yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
right.
Like
Right.
I
She stay
get
out to
it.
survive. Right. So it's and I mean be real. When I see that, I look at, I'm like, bro, I got no respect for dude. Like even if I meet like, bro, if I meet a dude and through that situation, I'm like, man, I can't ever respect this dude. Right? Because he put his chick out. Like, I'm gonna say this: we help people a lot, right? Single moms, stuff like that, every year around holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving. I want people to be able to do shit. So I randomly I'll make a post like, hey, anybody needs something, you know, let me know.
For single mothers.
I do it for I used to do only single mothers and I switched to single parents, right? Because my
Okay.
guys was on me, right?
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
I
I'm gonna
see
get on
good
your
look.
head.
But I did. It was for her, it was always
But
single.
in your heart of hearts, what? What, God? In your
No,
heart of
no, you
hearts.
know what? I struggled with the single parent thing
In
because I
your
was
heart
like,
of hearts. I just want to know what's in your heart of hearts. No, hey,
hey,
feelings not
no,
included.
it
Feelings
used to
not
be.
included.
Look, it used to be that I was like, man, what the fuck? Ain't no way. But I realized, right? Because some years back, a guy hit me up. He's like, man, listen, here's my situation, blah blah blah, and I'm like, damn, right? Okay, I got you, right? Because you doing everything right. It's just the wrong shit is outweighing the right shit, right? It's beyond your control. Because I will admit, I used to be. To me, every single mother was due left, right? That's how he just left his kids. Like, bro, I was there mentally, with the exceptions of the people I knew that didn't do it. Right? I made that okay for them, but I'm like everybody else. That's not how it went. It took me a while, and it took me a while to adjust. And the reason I think again, this is where I look at things I perceive things through my eyes. I'm
Mhm.
like, ain't no way I can leave my kids, right? Like, so I assume no other dude was, and I mean, I don't know, bro. I struggled with that one for a while, right? I,
Yeah.
I bl- bro, I blame men. It's kind of crazy, but I'm I'm
I
I'm back to
mean,
normal. I still hold us more responsible though, right? I still hold us
I
way
mean,
more responsible.
I just say I put us at the front of it. You know,
Right,
what I mean, I think is we both genders have mutual responsibility because we hold the same amount of responsibility as it relates to what we're responsible for. But
right,
somebody has to be in the front of it, and I think that men are the ones that set the tone, and we have to own that if we want to assert our authority, right? We have to be at the front of accountability. So that's why I had to come to terms with saying like, hey, at the end of the day, it has to come back to the men.
right, right,
That don't mean you cut people, I mean slack, but I'm saying that's why I said
right.
we got it. Only way we gonna win, you gotta fake it.
Gotta fake it.
If you got this man over here that you got children, but they need a woman, and if she got children, what I mean, her children need a man. Now y'all have to have the emotional capacity and the discipline not to cross the boundaries of people who are getting involved because that's not what y'all are there for.
Right. You
You
you're
know what I
you're for the
mean?
family structure.
Yeah. So that means that not even, but you got to also honor the family dynamic. So you can't just be stepping out over here. You can't step out over there.
Right,
If you put the kids first, then hey, your time, you had your time. You fucked it up.
right.
So you got to come together and y'all are business partners. And
I think the
you
kids first part. I think we all forget, bro. When you have a kid,
right.
you've literally given up your life.
This is the
Everything you do
but
now,
it's the future, right? I'm
right?
saying it's worth it. Like if I
100%. If
like
you intended to have kids and you did it right, because if you don't, you people be mad as shit, right? So
man,
if you
right now,
intended,
my sons are older, right? But when they were younger, if I won't take myself out of the equation fully, but I think I came to the realization sooner than their mothers, and I have more emotional capacity to do it. If they had the ability to simulate a healthy, semi-intimate relationship in front of our son, just create those moments, you know what I mean, and
Right,
let
right.
allow them to think that we are together, I would have been able to do it,
You would have made it work.
right? Without crossing boundaries.
See,
Because I would have
that would be hard for me, right?
it wouldn't be well, because that's how you can fathom it, because you only know,
Right.
you know what I
Okay,
mean?
you're
You
right.
wouldn't even
I
be in the
see him looking through my
situation.
eyes.
Yeah, I've actually went through. I can look back on it now, right? But I'm saying that I knew it was value, and I tried to do it a certain way, but it just wasn't feasible in the long run. But I'm saying that it would have, regardless of how well they do in society, they would have done better had they saw that.
Right,
Right.
right. Okay,
So
I can
that's
roll
what
with
I'm
that.
saying. Once you have, so that's what I'm trying to tell my son now, who has a child. I'm going to have the conversation with him, because it's already happening. They are already being, it's a wedge being drawn in between them. And so
Right,
I understand what's going on. The other adults, we should be doing it collectively, right? But
right,
that's not happening. So my goal is to only convince them that, hey, no matter what, the best thing that y'all can do for your child is to never go against one another, and make that decision that we are on the same team. No matter, you don't have
right,
to get along, you don't have to. And
right.
my
Just gotta do what's
son,
best for the kid.
just don't cross the boundaries. Don't get so comfortable with the situation that you start to being involved on the physical level, because
Right.
then that's going to be your fault. That's not
Yeah.
going to work. But if your child grows up and believes that y'all are together one way or another, because y'all are,
Right. No matter
then
what.
she's going to be, and for you, son, it's within your best interest, because she's a young girl. Her mother's going to control your narrative. No matter how present you are, if you cross her a certain way,
It's gonna
then
come. It's gonna
that
roll
that
downhill.
negative is going to roll one way or
Yeah.
another. You know what I mean? And you're going to have to watch your daughter choose wrong. And that's a curse that you can control right now, that we all can control if we just stop being so selfish, but that won't happen culturally.
No, no. That's not who it is. You're right. I can't imagine the not physical part, bro. That would. But you're right. That's not my situation. But I'm looking at that like, oof. That takes
You
real
know,
man.
yeah, but guess what? All it takes is for you to have made the wrong decision, and it
You
would be
learn
easy for
learn
you.
by getting burned. Right.
Because how I'm thinking of it now, like, it already happened. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
I'm just looking at what's the best possible outcome.
Right.
It would be easy for me to have those boundaries, because we already have the trauma within the relationship.
True
But
that.
I have enough wisdom and experience in life, and I love my children enough, and I love humanity enough to know that, hey, I want to do what's best for the world, right?
Right. Right.
And I would it's not hard to simulate, like, just be respectful. You know what I
I
mean?
guess what you think about it, you've gotten to that point because you were
Yeah,
already together, so something was strong enough to not make you want to be there.
exactly. That's why
So I
you
guess
see
looking at
me,
it that
but
way, yeah, I'm
but
like,
you can only see it with one. You like, nah, because you know what I mean, like,
right. But
like I
but you're right.
said,
Something made y'all stop doing. You already quit that, right?
yeah,
That probably stopped long before the relationship stopped.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
that makes sense when I look at it that way. You know, man, that makes sense. So going back a little bit, we were talking about people making the right decisions with kids, and we know. Like, I'm gonna go back to a post. It was a post that said it's a lot of single mothers are loved by a lot of men, and I agree. And I commented and I said, listen, I agree wholeheartedly. Right, and
What
it's
was the
not.
statement? Hold on, what was the
It was
statement?
single. There's a lot of single mothers, contrary to popular belief or something like that. A lot of men love single mothers, right?
I
Like they
disagree.
prefer them. But here's why. I'm going to tell you, and this is what I explained. I said I agree, but here's why I said because a lot of these dudes that love single mothers are not the first choice of the women who become single mothers.
Facts.
I said after those women have get left and abandoned with a child, they forced to grow. Right, that growth makes them switch more over to it's not what I want. But this is what I need. Right, so they go after
Right.
those dudes, and I think those dudes, if it wasn't for that scenario, they would never get picked. So they love them. Right.
But a lot of them just no. A lot of them just settle for single mothers
I
too.
mean, yeah, I guess, but I think some
Not
of them
it,
that's
one
their
is
goal.
both. Is both. A lot of them. they a lot of them not even they don't love them as mates. They love them as single mothers, even their mother as well. A lot of them be
Right,
so
right,
dependent, you know what I mean? And what do a lot of single mothers do? They work hard to keep you around because they know they need you around now, so they become more submissive and more
right,
nurturing. However, but it's not authentic. It's not coming. It's coming
you
from survival mode.
right, and you're not
So it's
faking it for the
conditional.
kids, right? She faking
Right.
it for you. You probably serious on your end,
Exactly. So I think it's just reinforced trauma. I
no
don't
doubt.
think that, because the shit just happens by default. You know what I mean? That's in the DNA of society that a real man can come in and take care of another man's child and build a family. You got to come in and fix it. You
Right,
know what I mean? So you really settling. No, you don't actually have to do that. I'm not saying it's something wrong with it,
right,
but a
but you
lot
don't
of us
have to.
don't you don't understand the consequences of that. You don't understand if you understood the risk you're taking, if you understood the fact that hey, you can invest all your time, energy, and resources into building this person into a quality individual, and their biological parent can come back in the picture
At any moment.
and take any moment from you, you know what I mean? And that kid is going to do what any kid naturally would do, pick
No,
their
no
biological
fault of
parent.
kid, right? That's just that's who
Right.
they are.
If you it depends on your how you show back up, and then I'm telling you, and not all the
Bro,
time,
I've seen
because
them show up that were just left and never came back, and then one day they pop up and do like, "Hey, I want to work on my relationship with my dad," and there's
right.
nothing wrong with that. I got respect for that. Not
I'm
on from the
saying
dad perspective, right? But from the kid
no,
side,
right. You can't it's not the kid's fault because what
nah,
they
kid want
supposed
to
to do.
be right.
You know what I mean? But if you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
me like when I think about the idea of like, oh, me walking my daughter down the aisle with her stepdad, what?
I couldn't do it,
Absolutely
bro.
not.
I couldn't do it.
Absolutely not. Bro, no, I'm not doing none of that. So it's
I
so
couldn't do it for sure.
man, like come on, man. And then, but you know what? There are a lot of women who would say that you are insecure and you're
No,
not mature if you didn't do that. I'm
right.
just
You're
saying
right.
that's
They
what.
gonna say it for sure.
But guess what? I had to realize. Okay,
I roll with
if
that.
if that's what you want to call it, it ain't gonna stop me from standing
Right.
on what I stand on.
If that makes sense to you, cool. It is what it is.
So that's what I mean when I say a lot of men settle, because if you put yourself in that situation, then you are reinforcing the delusion of a lot of women who think that somebody's coming to save them. Like that reinforces the minimal discernment when it comes to who you allow to put a seed in you. You know what I mean? Because
I was about to say this. That
society.
goes back to the men, right? Because the wrong cats dropping seeds off.
Exactly. So I'm saying like we as men need to stop. Like, no, if you, it's people might not want to hear it, but once if feelings ain't included, when you every child you have, hey, that's a ding on you. You know what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
it's not the same for men. We don't look at it the
Right?
same.
It's crazy, but it is. I mean, it is what
Right.
it is.
Right. But then you have men who say, "Oh, body count don't matter to me
See, I'm
when
one of them
y'all
dudes that
right."
I'm just like
You
body
not,
count
but
don't matter.
your position isn't valid, Kai, because you're not in that situation.
That's
How is
probably why it don't matter.
why would it matter? Yeah, why would it matter to you?
But no, I
You know
think
what I
to
mean?
myself, the reason I say I don't think it matters, I think it's quality over quantity. The wrong man, whether he's the first or the last, right? It just has a bigger impact.
You're
If
talking
you
as you're talking with a business mind right now.
that might be that might
No,
be.
we're not this you
I just don't think
your
body
wife
count
ain't
matter.
got that. I think that
I
but
understand.
if you what you decided to do with your wife prior, like you considered that then. If she would have had quantity
I
then,
was
I
young
don't
though,
think I come
but
on, man.
nah. I mean, bro,
So
I mean, let's be like, I'm not talking because I'm talking people our age, right? Like we at these ages, how can you expect it to be something?
oh no, yeah. No,
And
I'm
so
not
it don't matter.
saying it now. It doesn't matter. We talking about in the context of nation building, right?
Okay, okay,
Reparatively, I'm
all right,
saying that it does matter, just for the same reason that you like. Hey, I couldn't be a stepdad. You know what I
right,
mean? Like that ain't got nothing to do with the quality of the man. It had everything to do with now the quantity of liability has increased. It's not just you. I got to
right,
worry about this, but this is not gonna. That's not guaranteed to repay me. This not this individual's not guaranteed to carry on my legacy.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
you're
I,
right.
I have to look at it differently. So and 9 times out of 10, if it was a quality man and if you a quality woman, then this situation wouldn't have occurred. Y'all would have put y'all child before y'all and
Right.
really had a healthy relationship. So I know one or both of y'all ain't worth my, you know what I'm saying?
Right. True
That
that. True that.
it just is what it is. I'm
Yeah.
saying I can put myself in that category. I'm saying that like, yeah, if I was to leave this relationship, and go out here and start another one, then you're marrying a lie. You are getting involved with a liability. You're taking a chance.
Right.
A lot of my emotional capacity as far as relationships is already gone. You know what I
So
mean? I don't really.
I look at a lot of people talk about the 50-50 shit, and or dudes are like, it took me a minute to figure it out. Again, I looked through everything from my eyes. I seen a dude say something about, I mean, I ain't paying the chick bills, this, that, and the other, and you really shouldn't, right? But that's the benefit of being younger. Like, I never complained about paying all the bills because I knew where everyone came from. I was involved, right? And it took me a while to open my eyes to say, okay, I'm tripping because I'm looking at it from my perspective.
Hmm.
Like, I don't care what the bills are, I'm gonna pay them, but I also was a part of the decision that led to the bill,
Hmm.
right? So I'm coming around, right? I would want to say I'm coming around, but it took
Yeah.
me a while to see that because I'm like, bro, you inherit when you date her, you inherit them bills, and that's just what it is. But looking at it now, I'm like, if I was out there and I met somebody, whatever you had before you had was you. That was how you lived your life,
All right.
right? I
Yeah.
got us over here. That's not us, right? And we'd
Yeah.
have to figure out how to get them to zero before we can make a union.
Right. You inherit the liability, but you shouldn't necessarily have to inherit the
That
responsibility.
right? Yeah, yeah,
Like it's gonna be
yeah.
a liability. Of course, if we're in a union, some kind of union, and you go down, I gotta, take care
Right.
of
Got to step
everything.
up.
That's what I mean. And if you go down, then that your the individual who came with you is gonna become more my responsibility.
Right.
And that's the I can understand that, but I'm saying that overall, if you should be I should have enough discernment um to determine whether or not you were able to survive on your own, to be able to function on your own based on the
Right.
decisions you already created. And if I'm gonna come in and pay 50% of what you already paying by yourself with your child, then that's a huge win for you.
Right. I didn't get
You,
shit, but bro.
you know what I mean? Like you said, if they all come from me, then it makes sense.
Right.
Like it's nothing. But
But yeah,
that's not
inheriting
that
everybody else's
because you inheriting
co-signing for
her.
somebody car that you own now.
Man, his
You know what I'm
child,
saying?
I mean her child, and then taking on the liability of whoever the child's father is. Show him, you know
Man,
what I mean? That's the chance. That can happen at any time.
and that's a interesting one too because when you mess with a chick that has kids, you got to deal with the baby daddy, and he might not be a decent dude, right? And the worse he is, the worse predicament you in,
Hmm.
right? Especially if he one of them cats that want to, they don't even want to fight no more. But if it was one of them cats that's still mad and aggressive, you, yeah, that's too risky, bro.
But guess what? He like a lot of times we like to create these false narratives in our mind that once another man steps up to the plate, then we somehow have a higher level of authority you know in this hierarchy. No, you do not. This person
Right,
has every right to show up however he wants to, whenever he wants to, because he has a seed that he planted here. We are territorial.
yeah,
And so you put yourself in between that conflict by
that's what I'm saying. It's
inheriting
not
that
worth it.
liability.
Yeah,
Is
it's
is
not
is
worth it
that's
for me.
yeah,
So, but
yeah.
I don't know. Sadly, that means there's a whole lot of folks that we gonna be in a bad way.
You gotta start faking. Like I said, we would have to be faking.
But I mean, you gonna need polygamy to fake because everybody got multiple, right? It's too late to. How do you fake that, right? If a chick got two baby daddies, you said we territorial. They
She
not
don't
finna.
qualify. She don't
Okay,
qualify.
okay, because I'm
Like
saying
that.
they ain't. That ain't
So
happening.
that's when we talk about purging.
Purge.
Like that, just disqualified. That don't mean you're eliminated from like Earth,
Right, right, right.
but
But you just don't. You
but
out of the equation.
you are eliminated from this equation. Like you don't qualify. It has to look practical. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
Like so, in you can, as long as polygamy is structured the right way, and your children will inherit the idea of why what you're doing is nation building.
Right.
That's the purpose. That's the why. So hopefully y'all steer them in the right direction and really we need to really be arranging our children's unions, planning them out.
Man, bro, arranged marriages. I've seen a lot. Right. Again, I've traveled the world, been all over. I had a lot of friends from India. people get mad, and this is from a structured parent standpoint. Your parents do really know you better than you, right? They've watched everything.
Right.
They've watched every step of your life, assuming they were involved in in a father, wife, father mother situation. They've seen everything about you. Those arranged marriages, granted, society is different, but they got like a 98%, success rate.
You cannot supersede nature.
Right,
You
right.
don't love is not monolithic. You can learn to love anybody.
I see it, right? I'm like I
And
said, I see it with the arranged marriages.
right. It's because these children are raised to prioritize the family
mhm,
over themselves.
right,
And so when they go in, it's not arranged like, oh, I'm gonna pick somebody that you don't like, and you know what I mean?
right. They
It
try to
doesn't
line it,
happen like that.
right,
They align you with a person that you already go into it knowing that my parents, who I've seen have a successful arranged marriage and
right,
love each other, learn to love each other, like, oh, this is what I want, this works. And
right,
so I know I don't have to, like, it's not sexuality first, it's not hypersexual.
right.
it's
So
it's it,
yeah, no, you're right on that one, bro, and that's crazy. I think kind of in the where we are in the USA, what you talked about polygamy, and I know we bumping up the edge, so we're going to talk about this one on Wednesday, but I think monogamy is the concept of monogamy ruins people, right? People think that's natural.
We're done. That's what I'm saying. It's impractical, but we're done. We're not going to accept that. You know what's crazy is I say this all the time. We won't even accept the reality that you're already doing it. You're just not doing it right.
Right, 100%. Right? You're
Like,
not with one
what do you
person.
mean you don't? How do you mean? Yeah. How does a person that has multiple children by different people say that they don't believe in polygamy? How?
Right. No, I'm with you. We on the same page,
Like,
100%.
how does a man who has had more than one sexual partner say that one woman is good enough for me? No, it's not, because
You've already
it
had
wouldn't have just
more.
been there. Right. So
Right. No, I'm
of
with
course,
you. That's what
one
I
woman is
say.
good enough for you now because your energy is gone. You know
Right,
what I
right,
mean?
right,
And you've been on bullshit your whole life, so you just tired of all the games. You exhausted. So one woman is good enough.
right, right.
But
But
biologically speaking, nah, that's
yeah,
not how we wired.
I mean that's it's not. It's something that you have to that's why you practice it. You have to literally practice it. It's not natural. Right?
Well,
Anything
you
that's
have to
natural, you
be
don't have to practice.
taught. If
Right.
you did it the right way, we would teach our children. Like, we would have these simulated experiences where we are really teaching our sons how to court our daughters, right? You know what I mean? Because really, you should be. You know what we like to do when we have quality relationships with people? We like to really monitor the children's interactions and keep them separate, as if it's a bad thing that they might start liking each other. If they're not related biologically, then you know
Right.
what? Our relationship,
Let them build a relationship.
like, yeah, we may be arranging them to be like, yeah, this is a good thing because we've already had to build a quality relationship. You were
Right.
already invested, and then we can show them what it means to be like to nation build, and that would be awesome for us to have been neighbors and then cookouts together and eventually
Right. Because I mean
sleepovers.
all the families will be together, right?
Right, right, and then me, and I know you. I know I probably met your parents, your
Hmm.
grandparents. So I mean, it just makes sense,
I mean,
doesn't it?
marriage is a joining of families, and I don't think we practice that part, right? You know what I'm saying? Marriage, people get married, and it's just hey, we gonna go hang out with the friends and family that we associate with, and then on one side, the same
Mhm.
thing on the other side. It's no longer uh, our families actually coming together to become larger, one large family.
And,
So
and it's weird that we want to accept it because it's like it's there are literally no practical arguments against it if you argue from a place of, or if you discuss it from a place of a factual place, with
right, I mean,
data.
just logical.
You just
Listen,
real and
I know we
yeah,
could go down this one forever, man. So I
yeah.
don't want to. I want to jump on that one, but I do. Let's definitely touch on it on the next one because I think, and it's
From
weird
what
coming
angle?
from a monog just talking about it as a
Oh,
whole,
the
right?
okay,
And
okay.
it's weird from my perspective. Everybody like, man, you got a wife, but I'm just telling you, I don't. I don't know. We'll definitely talk about that
It's
on the
not. That's
next
the thing. It's not sexual though. You know what I
one.
mean?
Right, right,
It doesn't, like, people in even in polygamy, like, you don't necessarily have to have intercourse. All of them not there for that reason.
right.
You know what I mean? But
It's relationships.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
nation building is really what it is.
yeah.
But we don't we when we say when you even said it, like, I can't see that. Yeah, that's a lack of discipline. But you don't have to
It is
practice it because
right.
you know what I mean. But that's really what it comes down to,
Yeah,
discipline.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Absolutely, bro. Well, shit, let's do this again, man.
Feelings not included, ayy. Let's get into it, ayy. Life, love, and real debate. We setting records straight. What y'all wanna hear today? We coming out the gate. You know how we do it. Feelings not included. Shorty did your taxes, now your bank account is ruined. Baby daddy cheated, now you out here looking stupid. Come and talk about it, but if you come out and do it, just know that feelings not included.